Okay, Cooey. Even I think you're losing the bloody plot this time. Seriously, how do you relate a song to video games? Well, it's in a game, right? Nope. Then it's about a game, right? Nope again. So, challenge accepted. Give me some of your time, and I will enlighten you on precisely why Nick Cave's The Mercy Seat is not only related to video games, but absolutely essential listening for anyone with more than a passing interest in the medium. Let's jam. So, do you remember how I was talking about art taking on a life of its own, beyond what the creator intended, once it enters the public domain? This is another example of that. According to Nick Cave, The Mercy Seat is a song about a man on death row, which is extremely obvious, waiting for his execution, mulling over his past and what's about to come, the seat itself being the electric chair, hence the comments about my head is burning, glowing, and so on. That's all right there, straightforward, and unambiguous. However, something that really sticks out to me comes right at the end of the song, which is something else that Mr. Cave has commented on. The man whose train of thought we follow is not a good person, and Mr. Cave has clearly stated that he is indeed a guilty person. Though perhaps not guilty of the crime he is being executed for, but he has a long list of misdeeds that he is forced to accept as he comes to term with his impending demise, knowing that he does indeed deserve the fate he's hurtling towards. Now, we could go off on a huge tangent about the efficacy of corporal punishment, my stance on the matter, and all the political and philosophical baggage that surrounds it. I may even do so at some point. But today, let's suffice it to say that I completely disagree. Death is not a punishment and completely removes the possibility for reform. It comes, I'd say, from a religious mindset, in which people believe that true punishment will come after the death itself. And I don't buy that. Not one little bit. So, whether the narrator deserves to die...
I don't know.
He's not a good person, though. We are told this quite clearly in his final moments, as he accepts that he's going to die due to his own actions and choices. But there's more to it than that. I'd argue reaching that point is enough. That's what we should really be aiming for with our penal system. Reforming and punishing people to embrace their wrongdoings, to truly accept that they have done terrible things. From there, we have a long history of seeing people turn their lives around and go on to be some of the most applauded in history. Malcolm X, for example. He was a very naughty boy for quite a large chunk of his life. But he inspired so many to fight for the right thing, and is a large reason the civil rights movement progressed as far as it did. Perhaps not as much as Dr. King, but his contributions cannot be denied. Anyway, a running theme, repeated lines even, throughout the entire runtime of The Mercy Seat is lamenting how the narrator is tired of all the allegations and moral grandstanding. And in a way, I'm yearning to be done with all the measuring of truth. Even if you are guilty, having to deal with that incessantly is gonna get under your skin. And that's a whole other bag of worms, original sin and all that. Let's have this director's career and entire life stripped away from them because they made a shitty joke 15 years ago. Know what I mean?
Moving on.
So that final line I was talking about. Another recurrent line is how the narrator told the truth. Presumably this is regarding the crime they are being executed for. As Mr. Cave has said, he's probably innocent of this particular discretion, despite his checkered pasts. So that all tracks. But this is always followed by a defiant, increasingly desperate assertion, and I'm not afraid to die. Which we should know is bullshit already. Even for those of us who aren't concerned about eternal punishment in the afterlife, passing out of the world with things undone, loved ones left to struggle without us, of course there's going to be some trepidation there. People who go out of their way to engage in extreme sports, that kind of thing, that puts you in mortal danger, they don't do that because they're not afraid of death. Quite the opposite. It's validating to come face to face with our own mortality, then come out the other side. The fear is the thrill, and the moment after is a celebration of life. Living every moment like it could be your last, so that the moments you have will be as fulfilling as they possibly can. I mean, dear gods, even the most desperately broken are prone to freezing at the final moment. I know that we don't like to talk about suicide, unless you're one of those cowards way out assholes. But the truth is, people don't kill themselves just for shits and giggles. People will live through and endure so much hardship without ever coming to that point, dwelling on and contemplating, even firmly deciding to go through with it for years, decades, entire lifetimes. But no matter how much it hurts, the nagging thought that dying might not be enough to make the pain go away, that's why so many fail, or change their minds. They're still afraid to die, even if they're also afraid to keep on living with the pain.
This is awkward.
It doesn't matter what else is happening, what came before, what you know is still to come, what's happening right now. There's always that thought, lingering in the back of the head, that there's potential for something better. Be the change you want to see, and all that, whatever that quote is. Death can be extremely appealing for a lot of people for a whole multitude of reasons. If your limbs are necrotic, dying before your very eyes, leaving you unable to move, experiencing complete agony at every waking moment as your body literally rots away around you. That's a real condition, by the way. I think most of us can easily empathise with why someone would want to end their life under those conditions, end the suffering. And thankfully there are countries which will allow that without repercussions. Yeah, about that. Hey look! This horse fell over and broke his leg. Let's shoot him in the fucking face. Gut and flay all the muscle from his bones and send them off to the glue factory to be ground down into paste so some kid can stick their model kit up their own ass or something. Who gives a fuck if the horse wants to die? Not like they could give informed consent anyway, right? Except, I absolutely guarantee that they could. Just read up on the horses wearing coats in rain experiments. Quite fascinating read. Meanwhile, we have a conscious, fully compos mentis human being saying, "Yo bitch, this sucks, I'ma die now." And we feel even more morally obligated to stop them? Because forcing someone to live in agony is the right thing to do? Because dying is totes bad? Bitch. The fuck is wrong with you people? How the hell have we come to the point where we try to make agency over your own life a criminal offence? Who the fuck thought it was a good idea to make suicide illegal? Which it is in some places. What the fuck are you gonna do? Send me to dead prison? Anyway, there's that rant for you. I knew I couldn't resist getting at least one in here.
Oh no! Anyway.
Right, so, I think we can all agree that it doesn't matter how much of a stone-cold badass you are. There's going to be at least a little, trepidation about coming to the end of one's life. So our narrator's assertions about not being scared? Yeah, no, I don't buy it. Not one little bit. So his final admission, which is generally seen as a subtle confirmation of guilt, like perhaps he was at least involved in this crime that he's being executed for. And anyway, I told the truth, and I'm afraid I told a lie. We need to consider both of these lines as one entity. He does, yes, cap it all off by confessing to deception. But consider the structure of not only these lines, but everything that came before it. Throughout the majority of this song, we've been led to believe there was no link. Assert innocence, whilst claiming to be staunch and unshakable in the face of imminent demise. They're two different things, right? And even at the end, it would seem to bear out, for the most part. The narrator did tell the truth. They were not guilty of this crime, or at the very least, did not state anything that was untrue about their involvement. After all, there's a difference between lying and not telling the truth. The latter omits details, whilst the former overtly changes them, if you follow my meaning. And whilst it's not outside the realm of possibility that someone would make a sudden heel turn on a single breath, I really don't think that's what's going on here. Shortly before this, we're also repeatedly still told the narrator has been truthful, but he then defiantly asserts that he is not afraid to lie. Initially he's not afraid to die, but as it shifts, he's not afraid to lie. As in, I could have lied, but I had no reason to. Not about his guilt, anyway. But if he has no compunction against lying, surely there are things he has lied about. And surely this must have been thrown into the mix for a reason. Someone in this increasingly desperate diatribe, there must have been at least something stated that was untrue. Possibly the culpability of our narrator in the crime. Murder, most likely. That's what people are usually executed for. The crime that he's mulling over. But he still firmly maintains innocence on that matter with almost his final breath. So what was the lie? I'm actually surprised that I seem to have been the only one to come to this conclusion. But he's afraid to die. Anyway, I told the truth. I didn't commit this crime. And I'm afraid I told a lie. I am afraid to die. Does that make sense? It tracks, right? In those final moments, no matter how hard he's tried to accept the inevitability of death, he doesn't want it. He wants to keep fighting, to carry on, just a little bit longer. Give it one more shake, as they say.
We're sorry. We thought you were dead.
I was. I'm better now.
So of course you're wondering, what in the actual strunk does this have to do with video games? Well, we're getting there. Just bear with me. First, I want to talk a little bit about this song in particular, like I already have been doing, but also Nick Cave's discography in general. There are a lot of musicians that try to capture the feeling of dread or unfettered distress, but few really epitomise that sense of hopelessness like Nick Cave does. Even his more sedate songs just have an edge to them that few can even hope to attain. It's not that dark, I'm so depressed, nobody understands me crap that a lot of younger people try to adopt, wallowing in their own self-pity because daddy didn't buy them a Mercedes this year. No, it's not angst, at least not the manufactured angst that we tend to see everywhere and anywhere, but a genuine sense of disdain for, well, for being. Not even being alive, just being. I don't think he actually feels genuinely misanthropic. I don't think Nick Cave is a misanthropic person. Perhaps during his earlier days, just listen to some of the songs he put out when he was with the Birthday Party. It's just noise. You know what I mean? It's formless, ugly, but in a compelling way. It's very raw and unformed. But there's something there that became all the more refined as he matured as an artist. Until we get to the Bad Seeds. There's not a single performer I'm aware of that so effortlessly and genuinely expresses pure despair in the way Nick Cave can. It's uncomfortable but oddly soothing. A healthy outlet rather than bottling it up inside. Reflective. You know what I mean? And that's why it's so relevant. Think about those times you were playing a game, obligatory Dark Souls reference, when you had that impossible boss whittled down so far, right on the cusp, just one more hit and it's all over. Finally, you've kept going, persevered even though you wanted to give up, hoping that just maybe the next time would be the one. And there you are, right on the cusp, no longer caring if you die, and you just go for it, and fail. That flood of utter malaise. Yes, it is just a game, but the time and effort you put in is no less real for it. And now you're fucked. You have to go all the way back and try again. So next time you have a bad start, and just don't really give a shit. You just go with the flow, maybe using this as a scratch life to just practice the pattern or look for weaknesses rather than going for the kill. You'll do that next time, because now you're not afraid to die, but you're also kind of doing well now. You've picked up on something that you hadn't noticed before, even if you're not quite sure what it is. But it's okay, you're not afraid to die. You'll get it next time. This is just... It doesn't matter this time. You've already resigned yourself to that fact. Then, of course, you screw up and you do die. And you're even more crushed than the life before, despite not having made as much progress. Does that make sense to you? We've all had moments like that. Maybe not a boss fight, maybe it was a tricky puzzle, or a platformer where you have to do the whole level in one life, or you know there's a checkpoint coming, but you just can't quite make it. That crushing sense of failure.
Because you know what? No matter how many times I get hit, I always get back up.
Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that dying in a game or missing a checkpoint and having to redo a level, that's not the same sense of helplessness as someone who knows they have no control over their own death, who knows they're about to die and they can't do anything about it. Of course not. But the song, The Mercy Seat, it expresses that true sense of despair that events like that can engender. When you feel genuinely helpless, like you can't do anything, butting up against a brick wall. It's what I felt when I was playing The Last of Us on grounded difficulty, in that fucking hospital right at the end. Having to go through 2 bastard floors before hitting the next checkpoint. It's bloody minded. Or more relevant to what you've been seeing on screen, when I recently made the mistake of playing Shadow of the Tomb Raider on its bullshit difficulty level, losing all that progress because you can only save at camps. I like that idea, actually. Just... apart from the couple of times when you get a checkpoint anyway. I understand that this was supposed to be a throwback to those days when platformers tasked you with finishing a level without dying, or you'd have to do it all over again. But those games were made with that philosophy in mind from the very beginning, and the levels tended to be a couple of minutes long, if that. Tomb Raider is a lot bloody longer, and the devs obviously knew this because they did throw in a few extra checkpoints.
Strike me down with all of your hatred, and your journey towards the dark side will be complete.
That alone should tell you it was a stupid idea. And I'm going to finish on that difficulty someday anyway, because I'm a bloody masochist. And I like the idea, I just think it was not implemented very well. And okay, it was my own fault for not properly reading the description when I first started, but it doesn't make the frustration of half an hour of lost progress any less intense. I'm not intending to rag on that game, by the way. It just happened to be something that came up whilst I was writing this. Apt, eh? A perfect example. So, I suppose the obvious question is, why the bungle buggery baggles do we still play those kinds of games? And, well, a lot of people don't, for that very reason. Or they'll choose easy difficulty settings because they want to have fun on a fantasy power trip. But for those of us who do play those kinds of games, play those kinds of difficulties, it's about overcoming the impossible. Like with extreme sports. Metaphorically at least, we've faced down death and we didn't flinch. We did not find ourselves wanting. We pushed on, we struggled, we learned, and through sheer bloody gumption, we overcame. Endure and survive. And that's why this is such a great song. And so resonant to me. It's a microcosm of all that rage, frustration, and urge to just break down and cry. It's cathartic. When I need to soothe myself, misery loves company. Though it's a very different feeling from songs that uplift us, it's still an important part of a healthy grasp of our own feelings. It's why people love the most depressing, saccharine shit when they're depressed. If I hear someone ask me to play Everybody Hurts one more bloody time, it's just a song that gets to the heart of how we feel when we're wasting time like that. When you just want to keep going. Sometimes it's best to just walk away. But other times you just force yourself. And you overcome. You break through. And that's what the song's about. It's about breaking through. About not giving up. Maybe there's no way out. But you gotta keep trying anyway. Go down swinging. Well, if you like what I'm doing here, do all the usual down below. I have a Patreon. If you'd like to sow your own despair by wasting your money throwing it at me instead of putting it to something useful. If not, or if you don't like what I'm saying, that's cool too. Call me a fucking idiot. Give me some negative feedback. I actually do very much thrive on that kind of thing. I want to know where I'm going wrong. So, until next time, thank you for watching. And the mercy seat is awaiting, and I think my head is burning, and in a way I'm yearning to be done with all this measuring of proof. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, and anyway I told the truth. And I'm not afraid to die, and the mercy seat is awaiting, and I think my head is burning, and in a way I'm yearning to be done with all this measuring of proof. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, and anyway I told the truth. And I'm not afraid to die, and the mercy seat is waiting, and I think my head is burning, and in a way I'm yearning to be done with all this measuring of proof of an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, and anyway I told the truth. But I'm not afraid to lie, and the mercy seat is awaiting, and I think my head is burning, and in a way I'm yearning to be done with all this measuring of proof of an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, and anyway I told the truth. But I'm not afraid to lie, and the mercy seat is awaiting, and I think my head is burning, and in a way I'm yearning to be done with all this measuring of proof of an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, and anyway I told the truth, and I'm afraid I told a lie. Not bad when I'm coming down from a cold, eh?